Welcome to One Leg Up, where we discuss how you can deliver the very best customer experience and how you can achieve zero marketing waste. I'm Ed Davis, Chief Operations Ninja here at One Leg, and I'm joined today by our mastermind, CEO, and all-around good guy, Vic Sun. Vic, how's it going today?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking, Ed.
Absolutely. This is a really great topic today that you've brought to us that we're going to discuss. What's on your mind? What are you hearing from customers that they want to know more about?
Yeah, so just the last few weeks, we've been bombarded with a lot of interest on chatbots. So, today, I thought it may be a good idea for us to go and discuss that, chatbots.
Great, cool. Let's start at the foundation of this discussion. Let's talk about what actually a chatbot is and what are the types.
Yeah, so I wanted to start with maybe something that's very basic. Is just the two types of chatbots. First ones are native chatbots. These are the ones that you can use on a website or in your app. You've got more control over them. They're fully customizable and configurable. And the one thing that's really, really great about them is because you have all the control. You can control the user interface, which dictates the user journey's experience, right? The user experience, the UX. The second type of chatbots are the messaging chatbots, and these messaging chatbots are typically third party bots that you get from messaging platforms. They're very, channel specific, so the two good ones out there are ManyChat and ChatFuel, and they're highly templated. So, the disadvantage there, I think, would be that, you had just less control in terms of the user experience. But for do-it-yourselfers, that's, it's pretty good, especially for those ones who are new and are very channel specific. So those are two types of chatbots.
Cool. And so let's dive deeper into that, right? So from with native chatbots, walk the audience through what the primary pros and cons are and what the benefits are.
Okay, so it's really simple. The pros and the cons. So let's start off with the native chatbots. For the pros, there, you obviously have a full control over customizing the chatbot, so all the buttons, all the workflows. You can add cool things, like NLP, natural language processing, AI, if you really want to be able to analyze, parse the data. And I think one of the biggest things is that you are not held hostage to the third party platform or to the channel. So for example, in December of 2020, Facebook launched these new changes because of the GDPR and privacy rules in Europe. And so American companies, who had people managing their pages as well as interacting with, individuals or users in Europe were affected by this, even though they predominantly only did business in the United States. So if you have your own native chatbot, that's you're in control of that. So with regards to the privacy and the data, it's the same thing too. You're not going to be affected by that, through changes of the third-party platform. And with regards to the cons, I think the biggest thing really is just the cost. It is more expensive than a third-party messaging bot. With regards to messaging chatbots, we're third party. The pros are that if you are somebody who's new to chatbots, you don't have a CTO in your team, you don't have a big team in IT, to be able to get this stood up, and you're kind of just trying to play with it, trying to deploy something quick and easy. I think this would be something that you could dabble with, although it's probably not going to be the very best user experience. But that is a big pro, is that it's templated, and so it is also a little bit cheaper, a little bit more practical. The drawback is, of course, it's not going to have the best user experience. And the biggest thing as well, which is the converse of what you get with native chatbots, is the data and the privacy, right? Because all of that stuff belongs to the third party and to the channel. So you may lose control over that, or you may lose the chatbot and its functionality altogether if they make changes to the platform. So that's a big thing to watch out for.
Within that, if you're losing control potentially of your data and privacy, is there any anything that companies need to be thinking about, given things with the legislation that took effect in California or GDPR, things like that? I mean, do we have to have more ownership of that? Is that a thing that we really have to look at, or that
I
clients are going to
think,
have to look at?
yeah, I think so. And I think the thing that I would advise, and this is what we've been seeing with dozens of clients, is that they don't really have to think about those things. If they have a partner and an advocate for them, like our company. If you don't have a company that's looking out for you, with those things and future proofing your tech and looking at those things aside from the technology, but also the legal side of things, and what could potentially hurt your user experience and the privacy of their data. It's a serious consideration, right? That you'd have to think about as a business owner, CEO, president, right, CTO of your company. So I don't really think that it's yes, they should think about it, but they don't, right? So it's really whoever does your chatbot, you've got to pick someone, a company that is looking out for those things. They understand that, and they're future proofing it, and they understand the architecture of your current tech stack, plus what you will be in 3 months, 6 months, in a year, maybe even 2 years from now.
Sure. Cool. So One Leg deals with a lot of home improvement companies. That's a little bit of our niche. And so clearly we're getting a ton of inquiries from them on this subject. Let's talk about that specifically in terms of how implementing a chatbot is going to help home improvement companies.
Yeah, so our experience has been what's the bottom line here, and so there is a bottom line. That's the good news. It's a high ROI, right, and it's quick on return on investment, and so I mean, without boring people with numbers, typically with marketing, that's how they kind of look at these things, right? They're very mindful in terms of their marketing costs, whether it's customer service oriented or it's sales or lead generation. And whenever companies do this, in manufacturing home improvement, they're trying to target a 15 to 18%, for example, in terms of that number,
Sure.
Or that marketing efficiency ratio, that MER that you were talking about. And so I've seen, the ROIs on these, 60, 90 days, 120 days, and, anywhere between 5 to 8%, which is huge. It's, you're looking at, double the ROIs that you would normally get on other marketing campaigns like pay-per-click, for example. And then, a little bit of pneumatics here. The 3 fundamental dollar signs, or S's: sales, streamlining, and savings. Sales, the reality is that people just don't like pushy salespeople, right? They don't like the closing type salespeople. So there's been this, this adoption and proliferation of people buying more stuff online. And so a chatbot, is a really good way of providing that, because people seem to be more, comfortable with these chatbots. It's predictable and it's less in your face than an actual salesperson. The other thing is streamlining.
Sure.
A lot of companies who want to brand and align their brand with their products and services. Let's face it, there's nothing like having a human help service you. But the reality is there's also the disadvantage that if you're scaling and the more humans you are, the more people that you have, the less likely you'll be consistent in your messaging as well as the words that you use, because people talk in different ways, right? And I mean, there's only so much you can do.
And chatbots don't have bad days.
It's actually quite true. Yes. Very, very good point.
They don't have bad days. That's right.
They don't have bad days. And I think, a lot of the clients who have come to us who have said, look, we really value customer experience. They're able to replicate that to a degree that they've never realized before, simply because they've never had, the partnership that they've had with us. But the other thing is that they are taking advantage of the things that, a lot of companies are having a problem with right now during the pandemic, right? Like when you're growing your business, it's harder to find, good, reliable people who won't have those bad days, and have the same messaging and the same verbiage and the same experience. And the last thing is savings, obviously, because your bot can handle thousands of conversations at the same time, you really can't be open 24 hours a day. And let's face it, if you're hiring people to do this and you want to be open 24 hours a day, or at least a long period of time throughout the day to service customers, at many points in the day, labor costs do go up. And with chatbots, we've seen 30 to 60% savings.
Well, and I think a really important follow along point to that is, brands, companies that sell product and services, especially to, consumer B2C type companies, a big thing is meeting your customer where they're at, right? So, and being there for them when they are ready to purchase. And sometimes, and this has become even more true and more random and more slightly uncontrollable in the times that we find ourselves. The lines between work time, personal time, weekends, night, all those things are blurred. So somebody could be looking at a product or a service at 2 a.m. in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. You just never know, and you don't want to miss out on the opportunity just because simply somebody you didn't have a customer service rep on the phone ready from midnight to 6 a.m. And so this solves that problem.
Yes, and what I found is this is a very good point that you're making, right? So
yeah, no, go ahead.
no, so a very good point that you're making is that scaling it and making sure that you're able to service your customers at different points of in a day, and doing it without sacrificing user experience. And I think one thing I could tell you is that what we have found is a lot of the companies who do have contact centers or call centers who typically manage these things, one of their major challenges have always been, okay, well, how do I supervise that they're saying the right things, right? And it's consistent across every channel. It's been very tough, and the market for really great customer service agents is vicious, especially in 2021, right? Because there's a lot of companies now that do work from home, and they've really specialized in that virtual service. So I think this is a great topic, and a lot of people from small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses are just so much more keen on trying to figure out if they can get a really great user experience through their chatbots.
Sure.
So, I got to throw a question back to you, because I know you do a lot of clients.
Yeah, please.
So, with regards to, the chatbots, what have you seen, have been, the stumbling blocks or the concerns or questions that people will have, in developing their chatbot or getting it stood up or started?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of them, and the primary one is up on the screen just now. But one of the first things that comes up is that seems like an overwhelming implementation, which we've talked about. It doesn't have to be whether you work with us or you work with somebody else. There's plenty of people out there who know how to deploy chatbots, who have a really good process for doing that, who make it as seamless and as without a burden to the organization as possible. But don't get it twisted. You have to be involved. Again, the chatbot is designed, and the idea is for that to take on the personality of your culture and your brand. And so that's a really important aspect, and you want it to take on that personality. But the question that's up on the screen in terms of, well, geez, the best way to get the maximum use out of that is to try and think of every single scenario, every question that a chatbot could possibly be called on to answer, and then come up with the best answer for that question. And so people constantly ask, well, how do I develop those questions? How do I develop those answers that we're going to need? And we look at three different areas. First of all, and it's the last point, but it doesn't mean that it's the one that requires less consideration, is you need to use this as an opportunity to actually think through your customer experience. Lots of times what we find is, you've got an owner who started the company and as an idea, and he slowly but surely added people, business sales director, business development director, marketing person, so on and so forth. And everybody sort of contributed to what the customer experience is, and it's evolved over time. Very rarely does anybody really stop and think about what that is. They know that they've got a website, they know that they train their salespeople, they know that they've got a marketing program, whatever the case may be. But very few organizations, in terms of the types of clients that we talk about, they're sort of in this 1 million to 15, 20 million size. Very rarely do they ever sit down and think through these things. So use this as an opportunity and leverage your agency or leverage an expert to actually map out on a wall, the thought process and the diagram, the conversational diagram that you're going to have, that you want that chatbot to have. So that's number one. And then in terms of the content and the material, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add that I think that is something that's scary to a lot of the companies. And again,
Sure.
I can only relate it to the past year where we've been successful in getting, these things stood up for a few companies. And one of the things that I think has made it smoother, simpler, so much more palatable to business owners, that we've dealt with, is that in particular, manufacturing home improvement, for example, has been, I've developed, these workflows, these processes over the years. So I know they're, the lead generation, appointment setting, confirmation, verification, issuing the appointments, getting into production, what the pitfalls are. Some of them have rehash programs, right? And how to deal with low buying intent and converting that much better with language that, over the years has evolved, right? And has gotten better, or, had to evolve. So I think that part of the suggestion that I could make is that if you're looking for people who develop these things, is that people who have proven experience, with customer experience, user experience, that know your user journey, because that could be a big investment, just getting that planning. Like when you said, like, putting it up on the board and whiteboarding the workflow. I mean, that could be a major investment for companies to take on if they don't work with people who already have those templated out or who have those planned out.
Well, and I think this is where, I'm usually not an advocate for specific industry experience when you go to engage like a brand or a marketing or an advertising agency, because I think really what it is that you're hiring as a company is the expertise in marketing or advertising or branding or whatever the case is that you don't have. I think in this very specific instance, it's where an agency that has a depth of knowledge and understanding within a particular vertical serves you really, really well. And so it's a bit of a shameless plug here that we weren't planning on. But I think when you sit down with some people from our team at One Leg, you very quickly, we speak the language of the home improvement industry in particular. There are other industries, of course, but right now we're talking about that one. So, that's where it's one of the questions that I would use if I were qualifying an agency who I was going to work with on a potential chatbot project. Lastly, or the last 2 points that I'd make, your sales team is always going to be the absolute best interface for what are the questions we get from clients. How do you answer that? How do you give a competent answer that is believable? Isn't the right word, but it's credible is probably what we're looking for, that actually progresses the client or the customer through a buyer journey. And then lastly, if you have a call center, talk to your best agents. What are the questions that they get? Hopefully you're documenting every question, or they document every question that you get, and you have a repository or database of those questions and answers. If not, you should definitely start doing that. And within that, talk to your best customer and call center person. How do they handle those questions? What do they say? That's going to be a really great source of content for you.
And just to add the on the tech side of things, keep in mind that if you do native chatbots and you are able to have NLP natural language processing, virtual agent assistants. These are things that are giving rise to AI at this point. All these data, all these transcriptions, these recordings that you've had in the past, we can use that to be able to go and have the artificial intelligence engine learn the way your customers speak as well as your salespeople, and through that provide a pathway to better words to be able to use. I'd like to say that at least for me, I enjoy that stuff, and it's pretty simple. It can be daunting for some people, but it is a readily available. Don't worry about that side. Worry about your dream situation of how to make your customers feel, that sense of they're like God. They're very important to you. That's what they need to really worry about.
Sure.
And so I got a question, Ed, about uh, you've brought some clients to us where some of them are not in the home improvement space, right? Direct to consumer, manufacturing, marketing companies, and their number one fear, or at least one of their big concerns, has been, we're very customer experience centric, personalized touch, personal relationships. I'm not so sure about a chatbot. So, how do we overcome that?
Well, I think if you go back to what it is I was saying a few minutes ago, if done correctly and you think through it, while the chatbot seems like it's a mechanical something without feeling or empathy that you're leveraging in lieu of a human being, it's the wrong way to look at it. The way that I look at it with a branding and marketing background, it is a way to ensure that I am putting a consistent voice to my brand, to my company, to my products in front of my customers, so that there is no variation, right? A lot of times, you're the impression that you give as a brand or as a company to your customers or your clients is whatever their last experience is, right? So think about it in terms of if you go on a trip, and let's say that you're a frequent flyer of a particular airline and that you love, or that you've got status on, more than likely your opinion of that airline is whatever that last interaction was with the flight crew, with somebody at the ticketing desk. Did they lose your bags? And it might not be a permanent a permanent opinion, but it certainly does sway it. So I travel quite a bit, and there is an airline that I love. They're not a sponsor, so we're not going to mention them. But occasionally, I have second thoughts about them, and it's always tied to, I can't believe you lost my bag. I can't believe my bag's the last one out. I can't believe you didn't have, any more of the whatever the little treat might be in the lounge, or whatever the case may be. And so this allows you to eliminate that variability, right? It's going to be consistent. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be available, which also is a key. So to me, don't be afraid of it. If done correctly, it is going to be a positive reflection of the company, of the brand, and all it's going to do is make your customer experience that much better and reinforce what the opinions are that a customer might generate about your company. So that pretty much takes us through our conversation. Bit of a shameless plug here. If you like what we said today about chatbots, and you want one that feels more personal, less robotic, come talk to us, because what makes a chatbot less personal and robotic is not actually a failure of the technology. It's a failure of the people who implemented it, or perhaps the way in which you implemented it. So skip the frustration. Get to zero marketing waste and risk with One Leg's creative and tech experts. Contact us today, and we can help you lower or raise, that marketing efficiency ratio, or as Vic likes to say, we'll fire ourselves. Get your chatbot configured, customized, tested again, and refined until you and your customers are 100% satisfied, with one-time cost, no upkeep, no upcharges, no bullshit, no bloat fees. Contact Vic. He will absolutely tell you everything you ever wanted to know about chatbots. At One Leg here, we're, of course, experts and practitioners of omotenashi, the highest level of customer care and experience. And if we may say so ourselves, it's one of the things we really like about this business, because we believe that the planet is awash in poor marketing, and that pollutes the world. And I totally fucked that up. And what are you going to do?
That's okay. Keep going.
How about that? That's right. One Leg believes poor marketing pollutes the planet, and that business is full of tired, outdated, indistinct, unremarkable, and underperforming marketing that sucks. But what sucks even more is that many companies have forgotten the most important thing of all, the customer. We're on a mission on behalf of our clients' customers to change all that. And to learn more, go to oneleg.co and find out how we do things, how we manage customer experiences. Find us, follow us on all your convenient social media channels. And if you like what you hear on this podcast, please rate us, give us a good rating, leave a comment. If you think we can do something better, let us know that too. Thank you. Have a good day.